Stacy, are you there?
Mike, did you ask for Casey or for Stacy?
For Stacy.
Okay, I think she's wandering around at the moment. Is there something I can help you with?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna have a problem with my audio on my computer, but now my video is not working. My audio works, but my video doesn't work. Do I need to
Hmm.
be on screen or?
It's preferable. You might try restarting Zoom and opening it back up again. Sometimes that helps.
Okay, I'll try it. If not, I guess I'll just log in on my phone.
Okay,
Okay, all
thank you.
right.
Should I be hearing anything yet?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you, Casey.
I was wondering the same thing.
Thank you for testing the audio though.
Hello, everyone. This is Keith Collins. I'm standing in for Dean Pucci and Ryan Jones tonight.
Keith, you stole my thunder. Keith Collins is our city attorney today, guys.
Sorry, you can have all the thunder back if you want it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Just a quick reminder, if you're not speaking, please mute your device.
Looks like we're waiting for one more. Casey, I think you said Matt is who we're waiting for. I don't have anybody in the waiting room at this point.
Okay. We can go ahead and get started when the chair is ready.
Very well. Good evening, all. I'd like to call the July 28th meeting of the Citrus Heights Planning Commission to order. Ms. Janelle, would you please do the flag salute for us?
Thank you. Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Maknavowski is absent this evening. Commissioner Nishimura,
Present.
he is here. It sounds like he's having some technical difficulties, but I do see him. Commissioner Turner
Can you
Mike,
hear me?
Here.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Here.
Vice Chair Flowers.
Present. Present. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Chair Sheeler.
Yeah, you're not here. Next item, please.
Approval of minutes for April 28th, 2021.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Turner Mike.
Thank you.
Commissioner Flowers, I second.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Maknavowski is absent. Commissioner Nishimura.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner Mike.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Yes.
Vice Chair Flowers.
Aye.
Chair Sheeler. Minutes passed. Thank you.
Next item, please.
Public comment. Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the audience may address the commission on any agenda item within the jurisdiction of the commission or on any agenda item. Those wishing to speak on a non-agenda item will be called upon at the beginning of the meeting. Those wishing to speak against an agenda item will be called upon after the presentation by the City Planning Department and the applicant for that agenda item.
Are there any speakers to non-agenda items?
Casey, do we have anything?
There is not.
Thank you.
Very well, thank you. Next item, please.
Public hearing, Pioneer Baptist Church for a use permit at 7828 Auburn Boulevard. The project requires a use permit, design review permit, and tree permit to allow construction and operation of a new 2-story, 3423 square foot church and associated uses. The new church will be located, the new church location will serve the current 400 plus or minus member congregation and allow room for membership growth. In addition to the church, the project includes a daycare Monday through Friday for up to 120 preschool aged children. Project planner and Allison Bermudez.
You're muted, Allison.
Now can you hear me? All
We can
right.
hear you.
We'll start this again. After how many months? I'm still doing this. All right. Thank you, Stacy, for the introduction. Tonight we have Pioneer Baptist Church project before you. I am Allison with the Planning Division, and I assume you can all see my screen. You can hear me and see my screen. We're all good to go. Okay, good. All right. Thank you. All right, so tonight before you, we do have Pioneer Baptist Church project. Thank you. We have Pioneer Baptist Church at 7828 Auburn Boulevard. This is a vacant site on Auburn Boulevard. And what we're reviewing tonight will be for its environmental compliance under CEQA, and then consider approval of the use permit, design review permit, and tree permit for the construction and operation of the proposed church. To familiarize yourself with the location, this is a vacant site on Auburn Boulevard. It's north of Antelope Road, west of Interstate 80. Traveling up Auburn Boulevard, you'd head towards Roseville. The west side of the street is Rush Park. And a little bit north of that is Grand Oaks Shopping Center. And as I mentioned, south is Antelope Road towards Greenback. So just to give you an idea of where it sits in the community. Overview of the project. Pioneer Baptist Church currently is located in Citrus Heights. They're located on on Old Auburn Road. They're in a very small location on Old Auburn. They've been in the community for several years. Their congregation has been growing. And as you can see by the amount of emails that we received on this project, it's a very popular church within the community. They have been planning this relocation for a number of years as they acquired the site and then assembled other properties adjacent to it for their growing congregation, to allow for a larger building, more adequate parking and facilities for their church operations. The church itself would be about a 34,000 square foot 2-story building with the parking, landscape, and lighting. It will include a sanctuary. It will have classrooms and 4 offices. It will include a large multi-purpose room and gym. And then, as mentioned, they will be operating a daycare Monday through Friday, and so there'll be space for that. Pioneer Baptist Church's general weekly schedule, typical church type services. So services, worship hours on Sunday, different sessions on Sunday. And then again, on Wednesday evenings, they do have assorted church services. They will hold special events as scheduled, like Saturdays. They may have weddings or other youth-oriented events as needed. The church does have an office that would be in operation Monday through Friday. And then the preschool daycare, which would operate Monday through Friday from 7 to 6. The site proposes to locate on 3 vacant parcels along Auburn Boulevard, as shown here. The 3 parcels, there's a large parcel to the south, which would accommodate the new building, would be the main parcel. So we'll have some parking as well as the 2-story church building. And then to the north is a vacant lot that will be developed, and that will be their main parking field. The congregation that attends the church would park in this northern parking lot. They would walk around to Auburn Boulevard. There'll be, this black line represents new curb and gutter and pathways from this parking lot along Auburn Boulevard, separated by landscaping, across the existing bridge, and then onto the main church site. There is no proposed connection between the 2 parcels over the creek. So pedestrian access will be along Auburn Boulevard to the south, across the existing bridge, and then onto the main church site. As you can see here by the diagram, the church sits on this large parcel, and it sits quite an extension back from Auburn Boulevard. And this we'll talk about later of why it sits in this location, but it's about 180 feet back from the street from Auburn Boulevard. So there's an access drive here to reach to the church area. The church proposed will be a stucco building with some metal siding, the tinted windows and stone. Very attractive church. This is facing Auburn Boulevard. The proposed church building will be about 30 feet high, well within the code allowance. The unique feature of the site will be this large steeple that's proposed to be approximately 30 feet. So that will give quite a presence on Auburn Boulevard. And due to the distance back from Auburn Boulevard, this larger building with the increased steeple will really help with that presence. The building does include this drive-up turnaround circle for people to be dropped off. And so the architecture of the building does extend along the front of the building around to this main drop-off area, as you can see here. Additional windows to provide lots of light inside, some arched windows, along with the metal siding to give some accent features. The rear of the building, again, carries the same features with the stucco and the metal with the metal siding, and then these metal pop-out awning covers also provide some relief to the back of the building. As I mentioned, this site is adjacent to a creek. So this line here represents the creek. Access to the site is going to be Boulevard. As shown here, this southern driveway for the site will be a right in. So the congregation coming to this site to maybe drop off, this yellow line represents the circle driveway for drop off. So they coming north on Auburn Boulevard, they can make the right turn in, they can do their drop offs, and then they can exit by turning right out onto Auburn Boulevard. There are some parking spaces available on this site, but assume most people would travel up to the main parking lot here to the north. So if they were exiting this site, they could travel north and then make the right turn into this parking lot and then park. And then in exiting this parking lot, they can turn right. And then they can travel north. And then if someone is coming from the north to the site, they can make this left turn into this parking lot. There are no left turns into the site, into the main church building. To access the parking, they would have to make this left turn here in front of this parking lot. As mentioned in the staff report, most people have been found through the traffic study that they would want to be traveling south out of the church. So there is no left outs. And so most, what would have to happen is people exiting would come north, and then they would need to make a U-turn to then go south. And this nearby intersection here at Grand Oaks currently does not accommodate U-turns. And so to prevent people from making unsafe turns here, maybe in front of the park district or going up into the parking lots and doing funky turns to get out. Part of the project will be modifying this traffic lane here and widening this west side of Auburn Boulevard, which is right now is narrow, and that's why the U-turns are not allowed. So as part of the project, a small widening will be done here and an alteration to this intersection that would then allow exiting vehicles to travel north and just making a U-turn here at the Grand Oaks intersection. The site provides the 111 parking spaces as required. That does include a small parking reduction allowed by the Auburn Boulevard plan due to its proximity to the bus stop that's right here to the north. So that does allow for a 5% reduction. So we have applied that and netted them down to 111 parking spaces, which they are providing between the parking available on the main lot as well as the parking lot, the main lot to the north. I also want to mention on this U-turn here at Grand Oaks, this project and this modification of the intersection is a city planned project as part of the Complete Streets improvement project that the city had planned for some time. The design of that project and the funding did not become available until the past couple months when we received a grant. So that has moved this project forward quicker than anticipated. The Complete Streets project is going to improve Auburn Boulevard from this location all the way north to the county line. So it's a large project that will be happening that is actually underway, starting design efforts. So since this is a city plan project, but we don't have a timing schedule yet. We don't know if the Complete Streets project is going to start at the north end of Auburn Boulevard, the south end. We're not that into details yet. So the way the project is conditioned that we will require this improvement be done with the church project. So if the city's project comes in first and starts construction, then the city will do this work. If the church constructs and wants to open and the city has not got to that point of the project yet, then they will be required to do these improvements. I did send out to you earlier this week a modified condition that just clarified that should the church need to do these improvements before the city, that we will work with them on making these improvements somewhat temporary they may not be complete curb gutter sidewalks, or the asphalt may not be exactly what the city will do, because we don't want them to go in and do work and then us just have to come through and tear it out. So we'll work with them to on the design when we get to that point to do the minimal work necessary to make sure that this U-turn can complete safely. That's the main goal of this, is that due to the number of people that are assumed would need to make that U-turn, we want to make sure that it's safe. And so that has been a revised condition. It's condition 52. That revision was provided to the applicant as well. And I think they're very happy with that. Also, the site does have a lot of environmental constraints. I mentioned a couple of times the creek that dissects the parcels. Cripple Creek runs basically east and west here between separating the development areas. In addition, there's a large number of trees. So drainage, flood zone, creek setback, all those constraints are on this site. And so we've worked several months with the applicant on this layout and through several environmental reviews and studies addressing the concerns to make sure that the project is meeting all the standards as required and protecting the environmental sensitive areas. So the blue line somewhat represents the creek area. This yellow line is the 100-year flood line that's established by FEMA. So that's a no-build area. You can't be within the flood zone. And then the city's design standards also have what's called a creek setback. So we take these sensitive areas and we establish a required setback from the creek just to provide additional safeguards that there's no construction within a flood area or proposed creek. So applying all those requirements did reduce the buildable area for this southern parcel, which is the largest of the 3 parcels. And so you can see the footprint of the church is well within and staying out of all those sensitive areas. The green areas do represent the proposed detention basins as drainage and capturing all the water flow that could occur in this area and providing filtration before it goes out into the creek is important. And so the engineering team, the project engineering team and our staff have been working diligently on this drainage plan, and they have designed 3 detention basins as shown here, along with some additional creek outfalls that will work, that will filter that water through design before it goes into the ground or out into the creek. The only area that will be within this flood zone, as you notice on here, there is this entryway off Auburn Boulevard, the driveway to access this parcel that is within this 100-year flood zone. That is minimal encroachment, and we did allow this to occur just because there's no access to the site without that. So it's the narrowest width possible. It's only a 24-foot driveway then that would go to this larger buildable area as shown here. In addition, they're proposing to extend the wall. There is currently a sound wall or a masonry wall along the southern property line. And there are 1 small street of residences here to the south. And so with this project, they will be doing a short extension of that wall to further protect the residences here that face Sherlock Way. Part of the project does include tree removals. As I mentioned, there's a creek and a lot of trees in this area. So an arborist did go out to the site, surveyed each of the trees, and provided a plan and a health of the trees, and then looked at the development and which trees would have to be removed due to the development. So there are 12 healthy trees proposed for removal that are within the footprint of the new building and a little bit within the parking lot. The remaining trees being removed are need removed due to health reasons. So as the project comes to construction, they will submit a final landscape plan. At that time, we'll review the number of trees proposed to be planted as required by code. And then we'll compare those to the inches in the trees of the healthy trees being removed. And they will be replanting basically an inch for inch. So each inch of tree being removed will be planted in new trees. If for some reason they can't satisfy all the inch replacement requirements, then they will pay the mitigation fee that goes into our fund for tree planting citywide. And they will pay those funds for any differential between trees that are not planted on site. But our hope is that with increased tree sizes and additional screening on this northern parking lot surrounding this area, that we'll be able to replant on site all the inches being removed. As I mentioned, the site does have had a lot of environmental constraints. For those reasons, they did have to have several studies prepared. We did a traffic study, a biological resource study, an aquatic resource delineation report, a culture report, noise study, and arborist report. All those documents were prepared for compliance with CEQA, and based upon all the information found and what the proposed layout, the project is found to have no significant environmental impacts. In reviewing the project's consistency with the zoning code and the general plan, it is consistent. The site is located within the Auburn Boulevard specific plan area. Auburn Boulevard plan is broken down into zoning districts, and this site is within the Rush Park zoning district. It has a general plan land use of general commercial. And looking at those 2 zoning documents, and a church identified in those as a meeting facility is allowed with the use permit. So that's one of the entitlements we're reviewing tonight. The design guidelines applied to the project were contained within the Auburn Boulevard specific plan and the zoning code. And the elevations proposed for that church are consistent with both those design guidelines. And then the development standards of the zoning code and the specific plan for height, setback, floor area ratio, the Creekside development standards that we have, the project was compared to all those and is in compliance with those as well. The only thing that's, well, it's consistent with the design guidelines through your approval, but is that steeple that I mentioned earlier. It is proposed to be 30 feet, which the plan does allow for a steeple or a feature element, as we might say, on the building of that height through the approval of the design review permit. So that's also included in the conditions, is that steeple can be 30 feet. And for consistency with the general plan, looking at the general plan policies, we have 3 that the project supported. Policy 7.2 that promoted new development to encourage a sense of belonging, which a church certainly does. Goal 23 of the plan that supports adequate locations and facilities for local and neighborhood gatherings, which the church and the gym certainly would do. And then policy 47.1, which supports businesses, organizations, and programs for youth. And again, that the church and the proposed gym would do that as well. Entitlements that are presented to you were the use permit for the operation of the church, the daycare, and other church associated uses. The design review permit for the design presented for the church, including the construction of the 2-story building with 30-foot steeple, the site improvements for parking, landscape, and lighting, and then the tree removal permit for the removal of the 21 trees, and 12 of which are healthy. And based upon all that information, I have a list of motions that we can get to whenever you're ready. But other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Allison. Very, very good report. Commissioners, do you have questions? Commissioner Flowers?
Thank you. Allison, you illustrated some of the driving patterns going in and out of the building. The one that I had a question about is if someone is coming from the north, attempting to turn in to the first parking lot or the most, southern parking lot, will they have to go down and make a UE or a U-turn at a signal to get into that location? You said there's no left turn from the outside lane there. So where will they make the turn to come back to turn into that first driveway?
Correct. So if they're coming from the north and they want to turn into, if they're going into the main parking field area, they can turn left into there.
That's clear. What about the next one?
And then the church part lot, they would have to go down to Antelope and make a U-turn.
And Antelope does have a proper U-turn there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Engel?
Yeah, I just had a question on the 111 parking spaces. Is there any kind of a, I don't know how many parking places the church currently has. It's obviously on a much smaller lot and everything. As like, how are those spaces determined? And is it any kind of like any joint use kind of agreements with the bowling alley? In case
Sure. Yeah, so great question. I meant to cover that. So their required parking, I think, was 15 spaces based upon the zoning code, which is 1 space per 3 seats. So that what gets us to this number that's presented. If their congregation grows, maybe continues to grow, or maybe at this rate now, if they're a parking issue, we have required as part of this project, there is a condition that they will have to present to us and come up with some parking management plan. And that plan could be, they could lease parking spots from the neighboring businesses, maybe the one to the south, because the boat shop is closed, I think on Sundays, maybe they could pay them a fee, and so there could be additional parking there. There are some businesses also on the same side of the street to the north that are closed on Sundays. So they have alternatives should parking become an issue. Feel very confident that they'll be able to handle this space as it's presented now. As you mentioned, their site now is very small. So they're used to having parking issues, and they have already some programs in place. They already have shuttles that they use and shuttle drivers. So if they need additional parking, they could make arrangements for people to park in a different location and shuttle them in. And they also do encourage their congregation to carpool. So they do have options, but then should there be an issue or we start receiving complaints maybe from the bowling alley or the park that people are parking there, we can call in that condition where they need to present to us some sort of formal plan for alternative parking. We really do not want people to park at the bowling alley or at Rush Park and travel, pedestrian wise across Auburn Boulevard. So that was the main concern. So we do have that condition in place. They are in agreement to it and feel very comfortable that they will be able to manage the parking and then come up with alternatives should they have an issue.
Okay, thank you, Allison. I have one other question, and I apologize. I know you already went over it, but as far as the latest, the little asphalt and I think you said parking berm, I don't know. I'm not real clear on that. When you were explaining it earlier, are you talking about the asphalt going over where the U-turn is being made? Or are you talking about it coming?
Oh, okay. So so this west side of Auburn Boulevard in front of, there's a new Rally's Burgers here now. This is a
Right.
picture, it's vacant. So this area that's here now is too narrow for U-turns at this light. It's not wide enough. So what will happen is this sidewalk and so forth will be pushed back, and this asphalt would be extended and widened to allow the proper width for a U-turn here at this signal.
Okay, so you're saying asphalt as to the street, not an asphalt sidewalk.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry, I
asphalt
did
for
not
the street.
understand.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we will, as I said, this improvement is planned as part of the Auburn Boulevard projects. We have wanted to increase U-turns here, but depending on timing, just since this grant that we received for the project, for the city project is new, timing and design has not quite worked out. So whichever one is done first, we'll do this improvement. If it happens to be the church, we'll work with them on not maybe doing the full improvements, or making it the pretty side, but we'll make sure that it's safe. And then the city project, then we'll finish it out.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I have a couple questions, Commissioner Van Duker.
If I can just stop you for one moment, please, Andrew. Chair Flowers raised her hand. I think she had a question first.
Muted.
I was muted myself. I wanted clarification on the back of that lot. I'm assuming that the entire parcel piece there includes some of the vegetation in the back beyond the creek on the far right side of the picture. Is that true or not?
So point me in or walk me through what area you're speaking.
The picture, the illustration that you're showing us shows a whited out area on the entire lot there.
Yes. So
Is there ownership of that back north corner? There is not. Okay, so it's been whited out on the map, but it doesn't. It's what is in that parcel right there?
So this, the yellow line represents their boundaries.
I got it. Okay, what is beyond there? Just, it looks like, is that a residence there?
There is one, maybe two houses that are back here. They access through this kind of white line that's here to the north.
Okay.
Driveway that accesses to the back.
Very good. Okay, so anything under those trees that's not visible, that's right up on that creek?
This, to the north of the yellow line is the residential properties.
I'm sorry, are there some bordering that creek? Are there some under those trees that we don't see, or are the residents in the kind of?
No, they are right here. You see the rooftops
Yes, that
So
one.
to the north of this white line is one, and I believe this is one here to the south. I think
Very
there's
good.
just
Okay.
two.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Van Duker?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First, on the daycare, I assume that there's going to be, for pickup and drop off procedures in the morning, I assume that the parents are going to have to actually park and take the kids into the church. And I just have concerns about the number of cars, because it would probably bunch up at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And I'm just wondering if they've addressed any of that.
Not specifically. There is several, I forget the number off the top of my head, parking sites on the main church building, as well as the turnaround, which is probably the most used, would be just the turnaround drop off. But they can park should that turnaround be full and drop off. I'm not sure what their times are of business, but maybe when the applicant speaks, they can address how they plan to handle that.
The outdoor area for the daycare looks pretty small too. I thought that was defined that by the number of students and stuff, they had to have certain areas. Is the playground area sufficient size?
We don't have a minimum standard for outdoor play area versus the number of students. So we leave that up to them to determine if that's adequate. I don't know if their regulation has any minimum standards on that when they get licensed through the state or something, but as far as our planning rules, we don't have any regulations.
Okay. And last question, how much beyond the 100-year floodplain border boundary did it flood last time? Like, I think it was 1996, because I seem to remember that area being much more flooded than what's shown in the 100-year flood.
Yes, it was quite a significant flood at that time. Ardelyn, do you happen to have that information? Ardelyn from our engineering division is with us, and she might be able to address that.
Good evening. I do not actually know where that high water mark is, Mr. Van Duker, but I can look that up and get you that information.
I'm just curious. It seems like a 100-year flood is something that we use to determine how much something is likely to flood, but it seems like we are having 100-year floods much more frequently than ever.
Yes, actually the storm in 96 exceeded the 100-year flood.
Okay.
So it was well beyond the 100-year limits. But our FEMA regulations and whatnot have the developments to the standard of the 100-year flood. But I can look a little bit further into that to see if we've got any high water marks from that.
And I would just add, Commissioner Van Duker, that since the city's taken over stormwater maintenance in the last 5 or 6 years now, the amount of flooding throughout the city has decreased dramatically, just because it's been better upkeep and so forth. But that you're right, it doesn't preclude a superstorm from flooding it. But the 100-year flood is what we designed to.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Any other commissioners have anything to question?
I do have some. This is Mike Nishimura. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Do you have two devices on, Mike? Because we're getting a big echo. Can you, mute one of them, then we won't get the echo.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You're still a little bit echo, but it's better.
Okay, my question is, well, I'm glad you're putting that stipulation in for the U-turn at Grand Oaks. But
we're still getting that really bad connection.
Okay, is it still coming up?
That's better.
Sounds better.
Okay, because I was there for 15 minutes checking out the site, and I saw about 5 cars drive into the park, make a left turn on Grand Oaks, and then come back out on Grand Oaks and make a right turn. So I'm glad that that's being taken care of. But I want to know what the church is going to do to ensure that they don't start taking over other parking spaces, like the kayak shop to the south of the church is a lot more convenient to park in. Now, they're not open on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so it wouldn't be a problem. But what about other times? What are they going to do to ensure that the congregation does not use up their parking? And then the other thing is that there's the condition of, as the congregation grows. Well, there's too many maybes here. It's like, what about during Easter when there's a higher turnout? Or, and like Allison said, well, maybe they could, lease the parking lot or make an arrangement with Fireside Lanes, but they're all kind of maybes. What are they going to do when they do exceed their regular parking on the north lot, say on Easter?
Okay.
Do they have any kind of game plan in line for that?
We can, when they come up, we can have them address that because they do that now. So I know that they own some existing shuttle buses that they use for their current operations. So we can have them address their plans for that, if they plan on using that when this church opens, or what their backup plans are before we would get into the required of the formal agreement that they would have to enter into a parking plan with us. But we'll have them address.
It just seems to me kind of vague. It says, as the congregation grows, well, as it grows by how many people, one or two, or, and then there's going to be other special events that, could infringe on the other businesses.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we'll have, the applicant is with us tonight, and I'm sure they can address that because it says something they currently do now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few questions. Some of those questions I think actually probably are better questioned of the people representing the project. I do question, I guess a lot of it goes to parking and traffic flow. 4 handicap spots are shown, and I guess I would ask, is that really enough? How far, Allison, do you know how far of a walk it is from the parking lot to the church?
No.
Well, if you don't, that's okay.
I mean, I could look at, I don't know the number off the top of my head, and I don't want to guess crazy, but
I can measure that while you guys.
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to have to pull something up to do some measuring. And my screen's so small, I can't, it probably says there, but I can't read it.
You talked about the driveway being within the FEMA flood zone. Do you need to get any kind of approval from FEMA, or do you have a degree of discretion there?
Ardalyn, can you address that one?
Yeah. Yes, we do not need an approval for that. There is a discretion for city staff. In order to not deem this parcel non-buildable, we do have to grant them some sort of access. And so the floodplain does encroach all the way along their frontage. So that was the best spot. And we did minimize the width and impact for paving. So as long as it does allow them to still use this parcel as a buildable development, we're allowed to do that.
I just wanted to identify a potential problem. I didn't want to get far along the process and having FEMA suddenly jump up and say, wait a minute, what are you doing? Probably the most concerning is the number of questions has expressed about turning people that want to go south and having to go up to Grand Oaks and turn around. I am concerned, even though Rallies is now in the parking lot there, I am concerned, are people going to try to turn left into that parking space, into the parking lot? Is the left turn pocket going to be sufficient for when services are over and people come out? Is a left turn pocket going to be sufficient to handle that? I think the parking and traffic is probably my biggest concern. And when we open it for public comment, maybe the proponents can talk about that a little bit.
Sure, sounds good.
Chair Sheeler, I did measure that. It's about from one driveway to the other driveway is about 250 feet. And I also wanted to mention, we do have Matt Weir, who is with Kinley Horn, the traffic engineer on the project. If you have traffic specific questions later on, we can have him chime in.
Well, I guess if we ever get rain again, they will certainly need umbrellas to walk that 250 feet from the parking lot to the church. That pretty much concludes my questions for now. With that, I'd like to open the public hearing.
Chair Sheeler, I did have one more question.
I apologize.
That's all right. I was late on the draw. And maybe this can be addressed under public comment as well. I too have a little concern about the daycare portion of this, and maybe they can address their current capacity of daycare and how many children that means that will be coming to the facility on a daily basis. And maybe, I don't know if there's a restriction on capacity when it comes to how many children that daycare can facilitate, but I'd be curious to know what their plan is to mitigate overfill and, certainly a huge amount of people and drop-offs happening on a daily basis without really proper, safety, I guess is what I'm concerned mostly with. So maybe they can address that.
Thank you. So again, I will open the public hearing, and it looks like maybe Rocky Williams, are you the project proponent?
I can go ahead and start. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, I'll take a stab at most of these. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Rob Wood. I'm with Millennium Planning and Engineering. I'm the principal planner on this project. I'm representing the Pioneer Baptist Church. Rocky Williams is the project manager for the church. He is here tonight. Anything I can answer, he could chime in, and Pastor Conley's here as well. Also, the project architect, Tom Roman, is here for any architectural questions, and our staff engineers here as well. So let me go down through some of these questions, maybe not in any particular order, see if I can address some of the concerns and comments that came up. One of them was about flooding. The flood in 96, 97 was a 500-year storm event, not a 100-year storm event. So it did go past this 100-year floodplain line. But one of the things that we're required to do is to build 2 feet above the 100-year floodplain. So just wanted to mention that we're going to be well above that flood elevation. Because as Commissioner Van Duker pointed out, it seems like we have 100-year floodplains a lot more, or 100-year flood events a lot more often than every 100 years. So that's probably going to become the norm. One of the things that has come up a couple of times is the parking at the daycare, and Rocky may need to weigh in a little bit, but my understanding is on the south side next to the church where the daycare will be, there are 34 parking spaces, and there's also a drop off with a traffic circle to make it convenient for people to pull up, drop off their child. Obviously the younger kids, they're gonna have to park and bring in their child. The older kids, there'll be teachers outside that take the child from the car, the person can drop them off, they can just turn around and go out. And not everybody arrives and leaves at the same time. So there is that different time frame. So we don't anticipate with absolute maximum of 120 kids for the daycare that there's going to be any issues with parking with 34 spaces and the drop off with teachers helping to expedite that. Another question that came up was about what do we do as the church grows and how do we accommodate parking? I think working with staff, Allison's put in a condition that addresses that if there is an issue with parking, that we have to do a parking analysis to figure it out. We don't anticipate that because the church's primary I mean, their primary concern is to get people in the seats. And so they do have 2 shuttle buses that hold 24 people each. They use those regularly. They have licensed bus drivers that operate those. And a lot of people do take those shuttles. The 111 spaces was based on the development code. That's what's required for what the building is at maximum capacity. So the building is of a certain size. The building's not going to grow. So as the congregation grows, they only have a certain amount of people they can put into the building for the maximum capacity per fire code. And that parking is based on that maximum. So we don't anticipate any parking issues, but because the church has the means to address parking needs. But if there's a condition in there to safeguard that. I know that's always a concern with projects. It's a concern here, but we've thought long and hard about it to address it properly. The traffic I won't get into. That's more of a Kimley Horn issue with the traffic. But one thing I will say is this has kind of been a long time coming for Pioneer Baptist Church, but I think the timing is really good because the fact that it's going forward now, we feel confident it's going to be in conjunction with the timing of the Complete Streets program and the Auburn Boulevard improvements, which is going to be great because there's going to be some new sidewalks. We're going to dedicate some right-of-way on that north parking lot to put new sidewalks, make it more pedestrian friendly. The improvements to the intersection to the north is going to be huge because it'll allow people to make a safe U-turn. There's already adequate safe U-turns to the south. So we think this is a great timing because all these improvements are going to go in. There was a question about ADA stalls. The number of ADA stalls is based on the federal ADA requirements. And so the number of ADA stalls is adequate per the number of parking stalls. It's based on the overall number of parking stalls. And I think that was all the questions. Happy to answer any more questions. And as I said, the architect is here and members of the church, the project manager, Rocky's here, and our staff engineers here. So really appreciate your time tonight.
Commissioners, questions? All right, I have some questions. Is the daycare open to only church congregants or to just the community?
I'll defer that question to Rocky. I'm not exactly sure on how they operate the daycare. Rocky, are you there?
Go ahead. Hi there. Thank you, commissioners, for your time tonight. I'll answer this one. I'm Pastor Kyle, pastor of the church. We currently do not have a daycare in operation. Our facility would not permit that. But to answer the question about the daycare, it will be open to the community, not just to our church. We suspect a large portion of that daycare will be our church members, but it will be open to the community.
Do you anticipate, given Commissioner Van Duker's comment about the outside play area, is there anticipation of trying to move children across the street to the park, to use the park?
If we ever did that, we would use our shuttles with our licensed, our professional drivers, our CDL drivers to do that. I would never walk them across the park.
All right, thank you.
I don't anticipate doing that. We've got a lot of green space, so.
All right, I don't have any more questions. No more questions from commissioners?
We do have a couple of public comments when you're ready.
I see Turner Mike, Commissioner Turner Mike.
Yeah, I don't want to reiterate or beat a dead horse, but my only concerns, like I said, were the traffic issues backing up on Auburn towards Antelope and the overflow parking. Those are my only concerns.
Can we get any kind of comment from the traffic study people about some of the comments about traffic?
Sure, we can have, which particular question are you, would you like us to address? And Matt Weir is here with Kinley Horn, who can probably answer those.
What is, I guess, one of my questions was, what is I'm looking at the left turn pocket. So I guess there's probably not a lot of opportunity heading north to be able to turn across the lanes and turn into the bowling alley parking lot. Am I correct?
Good evening. This is Matt Weir. You're referring to the left turn at the traffic signal or along the roadway segment?
Prior to getting into the left turn pocket to turn left or U-turn at Grand Oaks, is there a entrance into the parking lot or the bowling alley that people may be inclined to, rather than waiting for the left turn pocket, to try to cut into the bowling alley parking lot?
There is. So north of the driveway intersection, there is a short segment of two-way left turn lane where vehicles can legally turn left into the bowling alley. Now, it's because of that ability that we felt it was important to provide a safe and appropriate U-turn opportunity, because making a U-turn from that two-way left turn lane in the middle of the roadway segment in front of a very wide driveway at the bowling alley was viewed to be a potential safety issue for the city. So by providing and encouraging through appropriate design and operation the U-turn at the signal at Grand Oaks, we feel that provides incentive for these vehicles to travel a little farther north to make the safe U-turn.
All right, I understand, and of course, again, like Commissioner Nishimura said, it's one of those conditions that certainly is going to have to be conveyed to the congregants, and in terms of sort of proper functioning within the community to not cause problems. Allison,
I would like, if I could just add to that, I think in light of the comments that I've heard, I think it's important to acknowledge that at the same time that we're talking about vehicles exiting and turning right and wanting to make a U-turn to go back to the south, we will presumably have vehicles sitting in that median, that two-way left turn lane, to turn left into the church parking lot. So we do expect that in peak times, when you have that mix of heavy in and heavy out, which is probably a very short period of the peak, we will likely have some standing vehicles in that median that would further discourage that movement that we're talking about.
Understood. Got it. Ellison, do you want to put up the motions?
Chair Sheeler, we do have a couple of public comments that were emailed in.
I apologize.
I did want, for the record, also note that we did receive some email comments earlier this afternoon, and those have been provided to the commission, as well as that modified condition that I discussed during the presentation. That has been shared with the commission, and those were included as part of the information tonight.
The first comment we have was received about 6 o'clock this evening. It says, to whom it's from Ulia Daikin. I am writing to voice my family's approval of the construction of a new facility for Pioneer Baptist Church. Our family of 4 has been attending Pioneer Baptist Church for the past 9 years and watched it grow and positively affect so many lives like it did ours. Just over 1 year ago, we were residents of Citrus Heights and still looking to possibly make our new home here. We still spend several days each month eating, shopping, playing, and very much enjoy what the city has to offer. More importantly, we see how much of a blessing this new facility would be both to the city and the church. Pioneer Church is a community of faith that serves so many and meets so many needs in our region. And the second comment I have is from Albert and Ruth Fox. Please read the following into public comment. My name is Albert Fox. I am writing in support of Pioneer Baptist Church application for construction of a new worship facility on their currently vacant property on Auburn Boulevard. The church, its staff, and members have been good neighbors at their current location on Old Auburn Boulevard. Their strong support of and commitment to our community is evidenced by their growth and the need for a new facility presented here tonight. plans as currently proposed are a perfect fit for the property, and the effective use of space is to be applauded. The applicants have taken great strides to consider the concerns of the neighborhood and conform to the land use restrictions presented by this unique property. As a resident of Area 6, I look forward to the positive impacts this project can bring to our neighborhood and to the appearance of the Auburn Boulevard revitalization efforts. My wife, Ruth, and I urge the Planning Commission to approve this project application as presented.
Thank you, Casey.
Is that it, Casey?
Yes, that's all the comments. It does look like Commissioner Engel has her hand raised virtually.
I apologize. I'm probably out of order, but I did kind of want to ask about, since these two projects are going to be kind of coming on at the same time, do we know if there was any plan with the Auburn Boulevard plan to make a turn lane in the middle of, to make that 5 lanes instead of 4 in front of the church and in front of Fireside Lanes, Allison? Do you have any idea? Because that would like resolve a lot of this down the road, you know, that if there was actually a turn lane.
I think there's, Arlen, you know, I think there's one now.
So coming from the north to the church, going south to the church, and
there is one because you will be able to turn left into the church coming from the north.
So from
Yes.
a center lane. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I want to reiterate again, all of the commissioners did receive numerous emails, letters of support for the project. And so obviously it's well received. Therefore, I'd like to close the public hearing. Any further comments? Can I have a motion, please?
Sorry, Vice Chair Flowers has her hand raised virtually.
Thank you. I just, are you going to open it for any comments from the commissioners at all?
Certainly, please.
Okay. Okay. I did want to make a comment. And first of all, I wanted to publicly thank the 34 assumedly people that are congregates of this church, and the time they took to present us with all of their petitions. And I felt their hearts, I really did. And I just appreciate the time and the effort they took to address us all. They were beautiful letters. I read every single one of them. I have their names on this paper, and I hope to meet them someday. They were just, they were really touching. So I wanted to thank every one of them publicly for that. And one of the things that really stuck out to me in those letters was just the desire to really help minister to the community around them. And I don't know any better goal for a church than to be able to minister to their community. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I just wanted you all to know those that are on tonight. And I know this has probably been a very long, arduous project. I've seen the future site of Pioneer Church up there for a very long time. And so for this to come to fruition, I'm sure is beginning to really really tug at everybody's heartstrings. And so I just wanted to thank you all for presenting that. As I've sat on as a planning commissioner, not very long, but long enough, I've never seen this many public comments come before us. So I just wanted to thank you all for that. And good luck. And I'm in favor of this project going through for sure.
Commissioner Turner-Mike.
I pass by the current facility or the current location every day going to my mom's house. And I've seen the overflow of parking on the street. And sometimes I get a little scared that I might hit somebody. So I'm very supportive of this church and the location and what it looks like. I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. I did want to ask, I don't know, it's probably too late, what's going to happen to the current location, but.
Other comments from commissioners?
I'll say, this Commissioner Van Duker, I think it's a good project. I really like the architecture on it and how you've referenced the existing historic location. I think that the growth of the church might present a problem in the future, but it's definitely an improvement on what you've got now. So I think it'll be a benefit to the Auburn Boulevard and a good project. And I'm in favor of it. That's all.
Commissioner Engel?
I'm in total agreement with everything that's been said. I think it's wonderful that we're going to be having a property that serves the community, that is not an old strip club. And I'm just excited to see, you know, what happens with the neighborhood and the kids in the neighborhood and those people who will have the ability, once there's a good crosswalk somewhere, to walk to church. That's awesome.
I too think the project is really a great project. I was a bit skeptical in the beginning until I really got into it and looked at the design. Certainly, I agree with Commissioner Flowers' comments about all the letters of support. I think the design is really beautiful. I think it's going to be really an asset along Auburn Boulevard and just complement whatever all the other development that's taking place on Auburn Boulevard. So again, great project. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
This is Vice Chair Flowers. I motion that we adopt resolution number 21-04, finding that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA for section 15332 of the California Environmental Quality Act, infill exemption class 32.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes, I can't get unmuted.
Commissioner Vakowski is out. Commissioner Nishimura,
I say yes, but I would like to request that the congregation do respect the businesses and residences that are neighboring them and respect the traffic laws. And then I would also like to ask a question of the church representatives after we have this vote. I have a question about this, but it's not, I would just like to ask you a question if you don't mind after the vote.
Casey, should we be taking the question prior to the motion?
If it's not germane to the actions that are being discussed, Commissioner Nishimura can reach out to the applicants afterwards, I would say.
Yeah, it's not, it has no bearing on the vote. That's why I would like to speak about it after the vote.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Turner Mike.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Aye.
Vice
Aye.
Chair Schaefer.
Sheeler?
Yes.
Thank you. It's been a long time. Motion passed with the comment that was made from Nishimura to ask the applicants to respect traffic.
Commissioners for approval. A next motion.
A motion, we approve a use permit to allow for the operation of meeting facility with associated uses based on the findings listed in the staff report and the conditions of approval contained in Exhibit A.
If we could just add as amended to reflect the amended condition of approval, that would be great.
I second. Commissioner Turner Mike.
Perfect. Thank
Casey, do you need me to state that again?
If you wouldn't mind, for the record, that'd be great.
And would you like me to add the amendments? I'm sorry, but I don't have the wording for the amendment.
You could just say as amended.
Okay.
After Exhibit A, say it as amended.
Okay.
And the design review permit amendments. The next motion.
Oh, that's the next motion. Oh, do you want me to add that as well? Great, let me put it all together. I move that we approve a use permit to allow for the operation of meeting facility with the associated uses based on the findings listed in the staff report and the conditions of approval contained in Exhibit A. And as amended, approve a design review permit to allow for the construction of a 34,023 square foot church building with associated uses and site improvements, including parking, lighting, and landscaping based upon the findings listed in the staff report and the amended conditions of the approval contained in Exhibit A. Would you like me to continue with the rest of it?
I believe we should do one at a time. The city attorney typically likes that. So sorry about that confusion.
Okay.
I'll second.
So we're going to, we're voting on approve use permit to allow for the operation meeting facility with uses, including daycare, based on findings and conditions as amended. So I'm going to start with Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Magnavowski is absent. Commissioner Nishimura.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner Mike.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Yes.
Vice Chair Flowers.
Aye.
Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Commissioners, motion?
I'm a little confused as to where we've left off on the motions. Would you like me to read motion number 3 listed there?
Yes, please.
Okay, any amendments to that I should add? Okay, I motion that we approve a design review permit to allow for the construction of a 34,023 square foot church building with associated uses and site improvements, including parking, lighting, and landscaping based upon the findings listed in the staff report and the amended conditions of the approval contained in Exhibit A.
I'll second. Sheeler?
Did we get a first? I didn't catch that one thing.
Commissioner Flowers did that.
Thank you. Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Magnavowski is absent. Commissioner Nishimura.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner Mike.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Aye.
Vice Chair Flowers.
Aye.
Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm on a roll. And I motion that we approve a tree permit to allow the removal of the 21 trees for the development of the project and require mitigation for the loss of any protected trees based upon the findings listed in the staff report and the conditions of approval contained in Exhibit A.
I'll second. Turner Mike.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Magnavowski is absent. Commissioner Nishimura.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner Mike.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Aye.
Vice Chair Flowers.
Aye.
Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Any determination by the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council by filing a written notice of appeal and the appropriate filing fees of $250 with the city clerk, not later than 10 calendar days after the date on which the determination is made. Next item, please.
Congratulations, guys. Great project.
Do we need to go back and close the public hearing? Did we do that already? Did I miss that?
We did.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure because last time we missed it. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that. Regular calendar, we have none. And the planning manager items. Casey, did you have a few words you wanted to say?
I did reach out to all of you about the upcoming APA conference. If you're interested in doing that, please let Stacy know. Otherwise, there is a Planning Commissioners Institute early next year that you are also welcome to attend, one or the other. So just let us know, please.
Thank you, Casey. Any commissioners have any further comments?
Yes, are the church people still on?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I was just curious as to what your plans are for the existing property on Old Auburn, given that it's a historic building. And I would hate to see another empty building on Old Auburn Road.
Yeah.
I mean, that has nothing to do with this project. I think this is a great project. I'm just, I don't want to see any more empty buildings on Old Auburn. And, given the historical value of that building itself, what were your plans with that property?
Let me get that one. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it very much. So thank you so much. We're really excited about this, and we really appreciate it. We want that house of worship to remain a house of worship. Obviously, we believe in church, and we think communities are blessed by more churches, not less. So we translate in some different languages during our services. People wear headsets, and that we translate into those languages for them. Perhaps maybe this facility here could be a place like that, where we have some folks who still need to hear grace and your hope, and they can hear it in their tongue. And but our desire is for this to remain a house of worship. I cut my teeth here 12 years ago, raised my family here. I want to keep it and just turn it into, another extension of our ministry. But we want it to be a house of worship. That's our desire. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, Commissioner, but that's our heart for it.
All right, thank you very much. I just didn't want to see you abandoning the property and leaving it abandoned on Old Auburn. And
we love that. We love it too much.
It's a nice building and everything. I thought maybe that might be your source for additional parking, but I just didn't want to see that building abandoned.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Very good. Congratulations again.
Woo. Woo. Thank you. God bless you all.
Jeff, Allison, thank you very much. Good job. Casey, thank you. Commissioners, thank you all for participating. And I guess we'll see you all next time. The meeting is adjourned.
Good night.